Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning. We're sorry we're late. Technical difficulties, but don't fear. Real Talk is here. Welcome to another fly edition of Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. It's a happy Tuesday. Yes, I am back planted with my feet back in New Jersey, and I'm ready to be back on the grind. Today, we're going to be talking about something that I think goes across both lines. A lot of times people have a hard time talking about themselves. But what we're going to do today is talk about to brag or not to brag. Do you toot your own horn with your business, with your entrepreneurship, with your solopreneurship, with the things that you're capable of doing? Do you toot your own horn and let people know and ask them the question, is that bragging or not bragging? When you're doing this, but I want to appreciate all of you guys who showed up live, even though we were late in the schedule. We thank you for showing up. Drop in the comments where you're tuning in from, and we're going to get it kicking and started. And I can't do this without my lovely co-host, the wonderful Charlie Brown.
What's up, everybody? What's going on? I'm over here
What's
working
up?
technical issues with everything.
Yes, the technical person is getting down with the technical.
Man,
We got a lot of things going on. When we get done with this here, I'm just putting in personal calls to, to some hierarchy and Restream and LinkedIn, and they
yeah,
just jacking us
pray
today.
on them.
Yeah, lay hands on them. Lay hands on them. Let's find me somebody. But we got a wonderful guest that's coming on today, and we're going across the pond, guys. We told y'all that we are a global show, and we're going across the pond today, and we're going to bring along the lovely Jenny Tillgren. What's up, Jenny?
Yes, Jenny. Woohoo!
Hi guys, so nice to see you both today.
So
And good morning
yes,
to you,
great.
I would say.
Yes, good
Yes.
morning to me, and it's
What
like
time is it by you again?
It's 4 p.m. today, or now, I would say. So
yeah.
we're almost winding down.
Guys are finishing up the day, and we just kick started. So
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you still got the energy to hang out with us. You didn't put in a full day already.
It's
Yeah,
happy
no,
over
I mean
here.
you're the best guys to hang out with to get all the energy. So
I
it's great.
appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah. So we just talking about bragging, and Jenny, we know. Well, I know a lot of people don't know us and us as a collaborative team, but
hmm
we have done things together as a group. The phenomenal Growth Academy. We all know about Growth Academy by now. Y'all better go ask somebody. Sinead
Well,
Moray has put together this tremendous community. And just look it up. Just I can't even go through all the accolades and all accomplishments and all the prestige and quality people that are in that community. But the thing about it is nobody's head is too big. We all collab with each other.
mhm.
We all look like, we all working on each other. We all got shows pretty much. I think majority of them got live shows. We're kicking it in our own separate industries, and we're collabing across industries. We're putting
Yes.
together great collaborations, and this show is just one of those collaborations. Me and Charlene, we were both in Growth Academy, both still are in Growth Academy, and we did the 21 day challenge. And this is why I'm going to bring Jenny into this discussion because Jenny joined us in the 21 day challenge, and Jenny was not a video person, right? She told you from
No.
the door. She didn't like the videos. You know what I mean? I don't know. I did a show last night on Introvert and Extrovert. So I don't know which one Jenny would classify herself as. But
Mm.
I'm thinking if she didn't like videos, she probably went on that introvert. So we're going to talk about today branding. And I know you do branding. I know you got fabulous stuff going on with LinkedIn. But just tell us a little bit about you, Jenny. Let the people know who you are.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you so much. And yes, that's how we got to know each other through the 21-day challenge. So on today's topic, that is also the evolution. So I worked as a consultant and coach for the last 3 years, helping companies and individuals to do their employer brand recruitment, but also helping individuals to show up as themselves. And right now I'm working with introverted leaders to communicate better on LinkedIn, but also in the workplace.
All
I
right.
think
All right.
this last year has really taught me so much about self promotion and
hmm
learning ourselves. So, just like you said, the 21-day video challenge was a great example of how you have to keep evolving. I have been advising companies in the past how to do strategies, but you have to practice what you preach, basically. So, if
Yeah.
I'm asking senior directors to be on video, I have to show up and do that too. And the great things about both of you is we have done it together. So when we started doing this, we were supporting each other and we learned from each other. We're coming from different industries, and we could still learn this new tool that we could use in a new way, which I think has been amazing.
Definitely, because
Yeah.
I was also not a camera person. I say it too, but getting used to it and realizing that you're kind of starting to talk to the community that you're building connections with. So it's not really about you in a sense. It's not really about you saying, you're nervous, or you got to kind of get over that. It's almost like another way for you to network. So when you go to these network events, I used to freeze at a lot of network events because it just didn't feel genuine. And then once you're in the conversation, once you find that nice niche of people to talk to, then you're golden, because you're just starting to become yourself. So I find that's a huge thing when it comes to personal branding. And I said in a quick post, for me, it was learning how to brag about myself in a way that felt natural, and it felt like I was being genuine. Like, look, this is what I've done. Like, I can't hide that. I can't fight around that. So when you deal with people who are learning how to personally brand themselves, because it's also a difference. You're not branding some random entity. It's you that you need to get out there more. How do you really talk to your clients about really getting comfortable with doing that?
I would say, first of all, I wouldn't necessarily call it that they are bragging. And I would also say it's a huge difference between telling people about yourself and telling also how you achieve the result, for instance. So people are on LinkedIn to learn, and they want to learn from people who's already done the journey. So everyone has so much to contribute to problem solving in a way. So you can educate people around you. And just like you, I learned last year that during the pandemic, very few companies had the time to see you either face to face or because of lockdown, or they didn't have the time because they were going through transformation. So just by doing videos is like a mini pitch. So this is how I basically start when I'm coaching people, that you have to see this as a mini pitch. This is your foot through the door. So if your client doesn't have time to see you, they might say that after seeing you, and that's how I learned as well. When I started doing videos, I started to get more clients saying they had time to see me, because the first moment of breaking the ice with someone came from LinkedIn and showing up as a person. So that was my big deal. But the first thing is just to say, it's not bragging to tell someone how you have achieved something. Bragging for me is when someone walk through a door and say, I'm the best person in the world. But I see very few people on LinkedIn doing that at all. So I think it's a good way to just start by sharing, what do you say, what is your definition of bragging or self-promotion, for instance, to begin with?
Yeah,
Well,
I think the ideal ideal thing. I think when you think about the terms and how we phrased it, and I know it was a term that people used when pandemic first really kicked off, and a lot of people were saying, I don't know why the term leaves me now. I just thought about it, but it was a term that people use in saying talking about themselves and promoting themselves. And oh my God, I don't know why I forgot the term, but it was on the tip of my tongue, and I was thinking about it. But I had not heard of that term prior to the pandemic. But with some of the actions of it, you kind of find yourself it was doing that, but I didn't know what it was called. And when you talk about bragging, but I mean, for the most part, now you have some people that it's pleasurable for them to brag about themselves. I mean, that's all they do all day, every day, you know. But I mean, for the most part, when you're talking about, I can even go as high as probably about 95% of us don't want to brag about what we're capable of doing or what we actually do. And I think this is what's really been the hardest thing, even if you wanted to show up on video or you wanted to do things or you want to let people know about what you're doing. It's easy to do that. And when you look at it, you say, okay, I work for such and such X, Y, and Z company. Well, exactly. Their company is so big and broad, it kind of like gives the introduction for you. So when you say
Right.
somebody, I work for, just say Lockheed Martin or something. I work for Lockheed Martin. Everybody's like, wow, Lockheed Martin. You don't have to really talk and sell Lockheed Martin. But then you say, okay, who you work for? What's your business? Well, I'm Carl Shawn Watkins Consulting. So now there's a question mark, or even with any entrepreneur, solopreneur out there, if you haven't been in this like conglomerate kind of business, it's kind of
Mhm.
like, okay, well, who are you? So now you come to that point of now it's not bragging. You really have to give people information so they can make wise consumer decisions based on
True.
taking your service. So when I turned it around like that, I'm gonna say, yo, I'm not bragging. I have to tell people what I offer, else I can't. I won't have nobody to offer nothing to. So when you when you take it on there, how important is the branding to help speak to that without you so much speaking to it? Because a lot of times people they correlate branding with it. I know I try to keep the website with the same picture photos and the colors. I know it's a
Mhm.
lot goes into that, but how important is that to really speak for you prior to your arrival, prior to you even talking about your services?
I would still say I still compare, especially on LinkedIn. I compare LinkedIn to a networking event. You go up and you
Okay.
shake somebody's hand. So
Okay.
I see LinkedIn as a digital handshake. You go up and shake somebody's hand. That's what you do. You can do it in a comment. You can do it in posting, or it depends on how you interact with people. So as soon as you do that, do you see it as bragging when you go up and shake somebody's hand? You're just introducing yourself, and that's to your point, Carl, when you're saying, hi, I'm Carl, I'm coming from Watkins Consulting, you're just presenting yourself. That's not bragging. But if you don't say it at all, if you would go to a networking event and you would stand by the wall, people wouldn't see you and they wouldn't know who you are. So
Sure.
this is kind of the same thing. It's I think the important thing is there's a gray zone. It's not black or white. It's like you can't say you are not being visible at all, or other option is to say I'm the best person in the world. It's that in between that you need to shake people's hand, you need to introduce yourself and tell people what you do, but to your point as well, you need to give a context to what you do. So if I say I'm a coach, there are like 2 million people on LinkedIn who say they are a coach. So everyone wants to change their life. It doesn't matter if you want to change someone's life. You need to say into what context can you help someone change life. So if I tell you a story about the situation when I've helped someone's life, they can see if they like my way of approaching it. There are many ways you can approach something, but helping people and put it into context make them it's easier to understand how you work, and that is something that I work with. I try to help people find their story and or stories, to tell their
Yeah.
stories in a way that people understand them in a better way.
And Phyllis is over here dropping a lot of gems too,
Yeah, I was just
because
reading it. Yeah.
she's saying you don't have to be the best kept secret, which is true. Like why are you not telling people? And I had to get used to doing that. As Carl likes to say, I'm an introvert, but being an introvert should not stop me from growing or sharing my experiences. Like you said, if people can learn from me how I do things, maybe that's a better fit. But people are not going to know that if you're not showing them who you are, and that's part of the personal branding. And even though I use the term brag, I got a lot of that from hold on. I got a lot of that from my from Peggy Klaus. It's really about understanding all the accomplishments you've made and letting people know. There's a good way to do it, of course, but you still show that to people. You display that, because that's part of showing people how you are actually getting things done. So you're not, it's no longer you just saying it. You've actually accomplished so much in your life, and now it's about showing, shining the best light on it. Because you'll have a lot of people, a lot of moms who'll say, I'm home with my kids all day, but yet you're kind of managing a small little army, depending on how many kids you have. And you're also multitasking because you're trying to keep them where, especially if you were homeschooling, you're trying to keep them on task. to make sure that they're accomplishing their own goals. You have your own goals to accomplish either through the household, or if you have another business or a job that you're pushing. There's a lot of stuff going on, and to watch how how Peggy was really getting a lot of these women, because we were working with different women who were, and young girls who were just trying to find their way in the corporate space. So that's also something to really keep in mind. It's not always about you thinking what you're doing is not significant enough. It's just realizing how to really shine the light on it, because you do have value to share with people. And I saw a question come in. Um, I think I'm freezing on my side. But
Yeah, I know my
that,
side. I don't know what's up with the connections, but I know I'm looking gray and griggly. But I'm here, y'all. I'm here, y'all. We here. You can hear us. You can
But
hear us.
I would say to your point, Charlene,
yeah,
and thinking about introverted leaders as well, one thing I do believe LinkedIn is a great platform for introverted leaders is if you don't feel that you are the most outspoken person in the meeting, LinkedIn is a great way to present your ideas in short form, like pitching small ideas here and there, and show people around you how you engage other people. So
right.
they can see that you are contributing as well and you are building engagement with other people as well. So that's part of the reason why I discovered as well on LinkedIn. There were a lot of people doing videos on LinkedIn. And then when I asked them, they said they were introverts. And
Mm,
it's LinkedIn is a great platform to just get to know you and know who you are and what kind of ideas you want to tell. Because even this year, I've learned a lot about refining the ideas, come to the point, getting very clear on the message that you want to share with people. So being here teach you so many new skills that you can use outside LinkedIn or outside. You don't need to self-promote yourself. It's just more about how do you influence people and how do you get people to take action
right.
on LinkedIn or outside LinkedIn.
And we had a question come in, and I finally got it back up. And it's like, I don't want to mess up your name, but I'm going to say Shahazia. And the question is, they would love to hear from you about, if you're a multi-talented person and you've got more than one area as your USP, how do you brand yourself at that point? And which strengths do you choose and present it as a key to your personal brand? I think that's a great question.
I think it's it's a great question. I would say start by experimenting and
Mhm.
see. In a way, you might not have the right answer from the beginning. In a way, you want to start engaging with people and see a little bit what sticks and what topics that sticks as well. I've been working with senior managers for the last 3 years, but I still had to try and test different topics to see what was resonating with them in the beginning. So by using different type of content, I learned about my audience as well, and I started learning what was resonating with them. So I would say maybe try out 3 different areas, but they should still be in the same kind of in the same space. If you are completely different areas, that I wouldn't say that I can't maybe start talking about tech and HR. I need to decide which area I want to to focus on. And then within HR or within tech, I can decide which role I want to continue to work in. But I would say start first and figure it out. And the more influence you have, the broader you can go. But in the beginning, people will remember you if you have a very clear niche, like both of you. Carl is talking about vulnerability, so it's easy to remember Carl for vulnerability. And for you, Charlene, it is web development. So it becomes very clear. It's not too confusing around that.
Yeah, that
Definitely.
was.
Go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, that was something that I had really had to define too, because sometimes when you get multi-talented, you try to take on multiple jobs,
Hmm.
and then in the midst of that, branding that becomes an obstacle and a hindrance to you. Because I went through the same thing, and that's a wonderful question. And I'm glad we kind of touched on that, because a lot of times people confuse the multi-talented that you're good at, but you're really talented to do a lot of things, but you're only good and great at particular things. So a
Right.
lot of times when we say that, even when we're on jobs, we say, "Oh yeah, I'm multi-talented. I do 5 or 6 things in there." But someone that comes in and sees you from the outside can spot automatically what you're great in. And therefore, yeah, you may know how to do all those things. And I thought about that when I first began my website, and Charlene's a witness to this. I had a focus of 4 areas, which I always done in jobs. I did the speaking, I did mentoring, I did coaching, I did consulting. So of course, me with the multi-talented mindset want to say I can provide all of these. But when I looked at it and got refined and talked to more people, they start bringing out different things in me that said, okay, this is really where you need to go. And it needs to be these 2 avenues, coaching and consulting, and then drive them 2 avenues into one street. And then you always have, and what I really was amazed, and it was a revelation to me that you can always bring those other talents into that one road. And people will see that you are able to do that as well. So Jenny hit that right on the head that you have to be focused with that. Because when I thought about being a coach, I didn't even want to use the term coach. It took me a long time because coach is just so like, okay, what man, what do you have? Like that's
Mhm.
seriously when you go on LinkedIn and you see all of these millions of coaches on there, you're like, oh my god, how many coaches can it be? Like, you start thinking that, and I said I didn't want anybody to think that about my skill. So I said, what is something that I carried on, or that I've been doing particularly well all my life, and that's pretty much bringing vulnerability into every aspect of what I dealt with. So I said, oh, okay, that's it. Now I won't even say vulnerability coach. I won't even concern myself with that. I'll just highlight vulnerability. And that brings a different crowd to me. So yes, that's some good info right there, Tim.
Yeah, I definitely have to do that because even though I like overall my span in web development has been over 21 years, right? But me and I was nervous like, oh, should I just stick to one thing? Am I going to like eliminate all these other people? I'm like, but at the end of the day, me focusing on helping people really fine tune why they need a website, how to get that up and running, how to make it clean. Because a lot of times, too, a lot of us who DIY, we're so busy throwing things in there. We're just like, oh, put this here, put this there, just put it somewhere on the site. And before you know it, it's not even a site that people can maneuver. So you're getting like a ton of traffic. You're doing sales, you're doing all of this stuff to get people ads, all of these things to get people to the website, and then they get there confused. And I was telling Carl, never leave people at the front gate and you're not telling them which room to go to. You're not telling them how to get in the house. You're just leaving them at the front gate.
Now I had a
No.
lot of gates. I had more than one gate. I was almost like 12 gates to the city. I had a lot of
Exactly.
gates.
So
Yes.
it was really mean to me to say, okay, you know what? My focus should be getting people to understand the clarity of their website, and then we can bring in the branding, we can bring in the beautiful photos, we can do all of that, and with a plan. And you're right. Just once you're in your space, you putting other things out there is fine, and then you can also bring your team in. You can start building a team of people to help you. So even if you're great at overall business branding, right, Jenny, you can just still say, I'm going to focus on your personal, but I have somebody here with me who's going to also focus on the overall brand of the organization, the company, whatever it is that you're doing. And that makes it a little easier for you. So you're not even stretching yourself um, unnecessarily. What you're doing is you're giving yourself that space to just fine tune what you really love doing as well.
I know you
But I
put that
also
up.
noticed
Okay.
that part of the reason why I chose introverted leaders is extroverts will contact me anyway. So they are more likely to contact me without me doing anything. Meanwhile, introverted leaders are the people who are almost standing in the back of the line, and it takes a lot of courage to come forward and say, I need help. And that's
Mhm.
part of the reason why I think I want to be the voice of someone who haven't been in the spotlight, and give them a voice to do that as well. And just like both of you are saying, it doesn't mean I can't work with other people. It just means that my main focus is here, and
Yeah.
then we can add on. So that is the whole thing about being multi-talented. If your brand is consistent and you are strong, people will ask you for other questions as well, and you can do them. It's just, I think it's also what I've learned from this year is I have been asked to do other things, but I've also said no, because I also recognize if I do too many things outside my scope, people will stop trusting me in the space I want to be in. So it's also important to be very clear on, like, if Carl is on vulnerability, that he doesn't all of a sudden start, I don't know what would be the opposite
personal
of
branding.
Yeah.
but go completely outside that, because that wouldn't make his brand very strong in the long run if you completely go back and forth and everything. But in the beginning, it's okay to try and to test different things.
And I just want to make sure that you guys, thank you for joining us, because our crew, our on live crew is here. Drop in the comments what's one way that you are using to build your personal brand. And while you guys are doing that, getting your answers in, Jenny, can you let people know what is it that you're working on where the community can support you? Because we definitely want to make sure that whatever you have popping off, we are there to make sure that we're there for you.
So it is actually exciting times. I am about to start a 30-day challenge where I call it Lead by Example. So I'm inviting 30 leaders to come in and be part of a group where they're going to post one post a day for 30 days on LinkedIn. Nice. And the value of doing that is, just like we have learned and how we got to know each other, is to do this in a group, to feel that you're not alone. So many leaders today feel like it's lonely at the top. And Carl, I know you know that because you work with vulnerability. But I want to be helping leaders to feel they are in a safe space and ask the questions, especially around personal branding, because they might feel they're losing face in the at work if they don't understand social media, and they don't want to show their people around them that they don't understand. So this will be a community with 30 leaders supporting each other and helping each other grow and learn from each other. So that will happen. I'm tweaking the dates, but it can be either the 6th of November or 15th of November. So people can either contact me here on LinkedIn. My website is work in progress still, so I have taken it down. It will be up again shortly.
Okay. And that's always how it is in business. As you're revamping, you're making some changes, you're gonna come back out spanking new and say, "Hey guys, we're back up." And
those changes, I think those changes and they're necessity, because they let others see your evolution. So I can trust, just me as a consumer. I can trust, or you get repeat business from me if I see an evolution of what you're doing. If you go to, you go to the same store, or you go to the same market, or whatever you may go to, there are things there, of course, you're going to like because it's that individual market or place that you've chosen. But you also want to see some innovation and some growth in that market as well. You don't want to go and you see the same displays, or they haven't fixed the windows, or those kind of things. So I consider that as us as branding and us as entrepreneurs, if we're ever evolving or we coming out, not changing messages, because a lot of times people get that confused. We're not changing the message of what we're here to do, but we're showing it and showcasing it in different ways. And this is really tooting your own horn. So as the title, I think when you come into the sphere of saying, yes, I haven't obtained, there's a lot that I can learn. There's more that I'm learning to provide for those who seek my services. And I think when you have someone with that mindset like that, I'm not too apt off by a brag. And I want to talk about that, the introvert and extrovert, because I think we are all that at certain times. I never clarified my one as myself as anyone, either one. I never really said that, I'm an extrovert, but I couldn't know, because the dictionary definition says, extrovert, somebody may be good at, they even give an example. You may be, lively at a party or things of that nature. But I think it's always situational, because there are points of times that I'm an introvert when I'm not in a situation where I'm comfortable to open up or talk or be involved with people. I'm not always social. And I think there's points and times when, and I gave the example of the Christmas party. Like, you work with someone and they're introvert, right? Or they show those character traits, right? Okay. Christmas party come, they're extrovert. And they
is it
all
the
wild.
libations that they
No, I'm not saying. I'm just saying it's a different vibe. It's a different. It's not necessarily the libations. It's a different vibe. It's the comfortability of the situations which transfers the person to that. Because you guys are introvert, right? Like Jenny, you're introvert. But when you're in a situation like we did on
No, this is what I think is so funny, because by I don't define myself with labels either. Right. So in America, compared to Americans, they would consider me an introvert. Compared to Swedish people, I'm extrovert. So that's I totally agree with you, Carl, on that space. It really depends on the type of environment they're in. In Sweden, we are definitely brought up in an environment where we're not allowed to brag. We're not even allowed to, in a way, to say we're good at something. So by me sharing something on LinkedIn is quite big in Sweden to do that. Compared to Americans, it's quite low key in a way, that the way you do things. So that's why I don't want people, and the reason I choose to say introverted leaders instead of saying I'm helping introverts is I don't want it's a behavior, it's a characteristics, and that is work in progress. That is something that you can work on. But if you say introvert, you have defined yourself with a label.
Right.
So I rather say you can label me as an entrepreneur. I'm okay with that. But just to say, this is me, I'm an introvert, I don't speak up in meetings. I learned basically to become an introvert when I became a coach, because as a coach, I'm doing much more observations and asking questions than being the one in the room speaking. So from before I was a coach, I was much more extroverted in meetings, and now I have taken a step back and being much more holding back and not. I'm asking more questions than I talk, in a way.
Yeah, it comes back to that. That comes back to that situation, and that's why the definition.
Yeah,
I can't stand labels anyway. Yeah, I can't stand the labels anyway, regardless of that. And I definitely, I've always had a problem with the dictionary and how they define things and apply those things as a definition per person. And I think, and I always saw that and go into that when the dictionary has a definition of something, that's just a clear meaning that it wants to get across. But you don't have to apply that meaning to you, because we're all individuals. And I thought about that. I said, okay, well, there's situations where you flip the script. You're either or. And that's what brings it about, because Charlene's like that too. She says she's introvert or whatever, but there's been points I've seen she's been extrovert as well.
Right.
So it just depends upon the situation and what needs to be said. And that's a clear thing that people need to understand. And I'm glad you put that point there and that difference there, especially with the leader, with the leaders going there, because a lot of times people think that introverts. I mean, just glossally thinking that introverts can't be leader because they don't speak up. Those two have nothing to do with each other. And it's such a falsehood, and it's a narrative that is really not. So you can't speak up, you can't be a leader. Those are not those things. I've followed a lot of leaders that said very little, but their examples, their work ethic, those things they provided you to see, made them and showed you that they were leaders. Yes, Jeremy, leaders suck. I agree with you, and all of those emojis as well.
No, and I did a post about that very topic this morning, and said that it was I attended a hackathon event in London where they had a power cut in the middle of the event, and I was there just as an observer because I wanted to learn how to run a hackathon. And one of the organizers went away to fix the power cut, and I was just standing there with the other organizer, and that person said to me, "Let's see what happens." And it was 3 different groups. One of the groups almost packed their things and was on their way to go. The other group became nervous, anxious, and was like, "Oh, I'm not going to finish this in time. What am I going to do?" And it was one guy who just picked up his phone and used his mobile hotspot and just plugged it in and started continue doing what he was meant to be doing. Yeah, and made it work. And that's completely quiet leadership. He was not like, "Whoa, it's me, here, I have a solution." He just did it. And by the end of it, it took about an hour to get the power back up again. And he was his team was the only one who finished the task that they had been given, and the rest wasn't doing that. So he did what he had to do to secure a job, basically at one of his dream company for him. And that's why I say leadership is more practice what you preach and just deliver result, more than just being the loudest person in the room as well. So I think it's important to just see it is characteristics we have, and you can still be you. You don't have to become an extrovert just to be doing personal branding. You can still do you. It's enough.
And I like that, because when you're just not comfortable being in a spotlight. Then you have to like, I can't be me. I have to now shift over. I have to be that person who's always ready to talk to anybody. When that if that's not your character, then don't feel forced to change it. Just understand that it's really more about getting yourself out there. So even if you're connecting with the right people, right? Those people can then be help you get the word out. Those people can help spread the information for you, so it's not just all on you all the time.
100%, 100%. And what have you learned by being more visible, Charlene, if you didn't feel comfortable doing that before?
Oh my, I learned that I really did need to be out there because sometimes my voice was different and people needed to hear what I had to say, and it just wasn't just that I was telling them something that they didn't know or they couldn't find on Google. A lot of stuff that I do you can do on Google, but it was the way that I was breaking down a lot of the information, the way that I was breaking down a lot of the process. People were really resonating to that and they were appreciative of that. A lot of times, I also had to learn that a lot of what I did, most developers don't do that. So I had to then learn, okay, I'm more than just this. Like how you said, a label. I was more than the label I was putting on myself. And I knew that I felt out of place in that sense because I was just going above and beyond in my sense, to do something to make sure that the people that I was working with understood why things had to get done a certain way. Because sometimes you just got people throwing suggestions or requests at you. You don't know why they're just throwing all these things at you, and you're just like, okay, I'll just fill it out, just get it done. But then once you start to bring people into the process, once you start to explain to them, this is what's going to happen. This is why we're doing this. This is why this is important. We can wait on this, but I suggest you do this later, whatever. But when you start to give that explanation at the back of everything, it changes all the mindsets, and like it's a game changer. It's a game changer.
Yeah, it's
No.
you have to get out you have to get out and speak those things, and it's I love to talk about it, especially when you can be so minute to it. And now it's a joy too, because in the beginning when I talked about this, well, I talked about this at jobs and corporate for the longest. I mean, for a lack of being disrespectful, people are like, man, get out of here. Ain't nobody talking about their vulnerabilities at work. Ain't nobody trying to hear that, man. Ain't nobody. Then I call it a blessing. Most people call it a pandemic a curse. Yeah, I've lost people and I felt that part of it. But I
Yeah.
call it a blessing because it actually gave us a time and a place and a pause to go back to the basics, just the natural things that we are supposed to be doing as humans. Saying hello, being nice, being kind, checking in on people, family members, eating dinner at home with your family. Like the pandemic brought back all our originals to us, where you didn't have to have the soccer mom running on the street, getting Chick-fil-A in the van and carrying it. People actually had to work from home. They had to actually interact. So I became joyous because I was like, now people are going to be talking about some of the things I've been talking about for years that people have gotten away from. And when you got an opportunity to do that, and like Charlene said, you get that. It's particular things that I know about it that I've been doing that I don't care. And I used to take slack all the time or heat all the time when I used to say, well, Brene Brown has nothing on me. And they was like, yeah, well, we heard of Brene Brown. Who are
They
you?
don't know you. They don't know
Yeah,
you.
and I
That's your
got that a
new
lot.
tagline. Carl,
Yeah, I
that's your
mean,
new tagline. Renee Brown has nothing on me.
I used to
Exactly.
say that, and I used to like, and people used to like. I used to get DMs about that when I first started out, right? First posting, and I would say that, and it wasn't in a derogatory fashion. What it was that her version of vulnerability is not defined minds. So I just wanted to get some clarity into that, and then I said, yeah, she's researched, she's had workshops, she's wrote books, yeah, but all of that, I say everything I talk about has been life lessons, what I've lived, what I've experienced, the knowledge that I've gained from it, those things that you could pass on to the individual Joe, because you can read her book, Dare to Lead, and it's a great read, but if it's not compatible to you or it's not explaining situations in your life, it's just a great book.
Yeah.
And that's why I said that that's what makes us different, because I'm telling you from perspective of this is what has happened in my life. This is how I've overcome this. And this is hands-on things you can do, even though your situation may be totally different. The key elements of what you're going through, I've went through. So that's why I used to say that, but I had to really nail that down to people, because I used to get, I won't say hate mail, but I used to get some people who used to be real mad. It's like, dude, we don't even know you. Who is you? What's your name?
But
So do
then,
you think? Oh, sorry.
no, but that used to be the same thing they probably said about her, right? When she
I'm
started
sure.
out, everybody started out being unknown.
Mhm.
That's why personal branding is important, because you're getting yourself out there. That's how people start to get to know you, and start having those crazy fans. And start to say, "Oh, okay, now I got to defend Carl. Carl's the one who started this," and they may or may not know if it's true. All they know is they back you 100%.
This is true. This is true, because I had
But
somebody
it's
tell me
also
that don't stop
But it's
talking about
also
that.
the fact is there are, what is it now, over 600 million people on LinkedIn. So there are enough people for Brené Brown and for Carl. It's like, it's still just 10% of people posting, and it's just 1% posting regularly on LinkedIn. So the pond is massive. And it's the whole thing about not seeing this as scarcity, that it's an abundance of clients and people we can work with. And some people like Brené Brown, and some people like Carl, or some people like Charlene, and some people like Jenny. It's not, we don't need to be there for everyone. We just need to be there for a group that is suitable for us. But there are plenty of people for everyone.
But realistically, you can't be there for everybody.
No.
Even if everyone said they want to work
Yeah.
with Carl, Carl's gonna have a limit. Even if
Yeah.
Carl said yes, let's
Yes.
do this, he's gonna be like, I'm done. Even if I had a team of 100, we're done. We're burnt. We've reached our limit, and people have to look elsewhere, or they just might not vibe with you. So it's all about understanding first who you are, then getting that out there to the world, so people can start seeing, oh, I like this person. I'm with this person, and then that's how you really start to build. But people think you just start making videos and you have 4,000 people running to go do
No.
business with you now.
Because my work is hard. It's a lot of hard. It's a lot of hard work, because I'm dealing with something that people aren't freely to give, and
Right.
it's not so much because it even takes away. It takes away even from a talent, because like you just say, or a skill or product you have, services you do the branding, and you do that so that's visible where people can see, and you have a
Hmm.
portfolio that someone can be shown. How do I show you how to embrace your vulnerability? And
Yes.
that takes a lot of work, and it's a lot involved in that, even in the one-on-one. It's easier when I do the workshops, because people kind of like work it, they kind of like, oh, or I go to companies and they say we do it, but when I go in those companies, a lot of those people know each other, so they're
Hmm.
a little more comfortable with sharing some things with each other, and it works so much harmoniously until, but I get on the one-on-ones. It's like going to the doctor sometime, and you don't always want to tell the doctor everything was wrong with you, though you need to,
Yeah. Hmm.
but I get to the doctor sometime and I have a headache or something, and or I have something more so than what I've told him. And I don't all the time tell him. And it doesn't be just for the fact that I just don't. I really don't know why I don't all the time tell him. But this is how people hold things in. They don't give you 100%. So we're doing that in vulnerability, man. It is such a hard grind. And I think people really don't get the understanding of that, because I can't give you something and say, yo, this is vulnerability. How this work for you? Take this on, sell it, see if you can put it on, embrace it. It's a hard
Yeah.
thing.
And it's also, I guess, being having that vulnerability allows you to create to especially in your business, you can start talking exactly how you want people to know and work with you and experience who you are. That's how you can start creating that unique customer experience, right? And a lot of times when you translate that to creating their presence online, they're not able to create anything because they're kind of stuck. Man, do I say? What kind of photos do I take? What kind of photos or images do I create? And they're not sitting down. I've noticed, especially when it comes to the website, nobody's sitting down and having a real conversation with themselves. So even so, I can see, Carl, how you're saying pulling. It's like pulling teeth sometimes to get somebody to
Yeah.
write a bio. Like, it's you. Like, talk about your business. It's you. No one can, even if you get the best content creator. They cannot write for you unless you know who you are first. It's not going to stick. And a lot of people just don't want to do that work. So it's the time is about that. It's about that time where we are getting ready to say goodbye. But Jenny, I want people to know, how can they work with you? Because that's what this is all about too.
Yeah, sure. So you can work with me either one-to-one, and if someone has a very urgent problem, they are preparing for a meeting, a big meeting, a spotlight moment where they're coming and they want to just prepare for, how can I communicate? How can I feel more comfortable? Like, we know 80% of your communication is basically body language. So you can just be secure by being yourself. But the other way, I would still say, would be lead by example challenge, because you will be together with other people and you will grow quicker. And I would say, based on what Carl was saying before as well, being vulnerable is hard. And when you start off doing self-promotion, it is hard in the beginning. And if you can be vulnerable together with other people, you get the feeling of safety around you. So even if you would get feedback from other people saying you're not good enough or you don't like what I'm writing, knowing that you have a safe space to return to, a big difference. So I would say it will come up in November. So Lead by Example Challenge, I would recommend introverted leaders to sign up for.
Beautiful. And I've dropped Lenny, I've dropped Jenny's link for her LinkedIn on this broadcast and of course in the chat. Please connect with her. Carl, let the folks know, because I dropped your vulnerability toolkit.
Yes, a vulnerability toolkit, November 1st. Be looking for my episode on the episode podcast that I did yesterday with my man Jeff Clark. That'll be dropping October 25th. We go deep into, it's an hour just talking about vulnerability and just talking about some of the experiences, some of the things that we got going on. I also am in touch with a publisher, so we are working. I just sent them two of my notebooks. So
Nice.
they're going to see what I've written and how they can phrase that. So I am extremely excited about that, because I have to give shout out to Inga Van Roy. I don't know if you guys know her, you're in your network. Look her up. Oh my gosh, she's a matchmaker. I had her on a Zoom. She's in my network, and we had missed each other for quite a few months, and we didn't know why and how or whatever. But we finally was able to connect. And come to find out, the wait was really what I needed, because in the midst of me missing her and not being able to join on Zoom with her, she hooked up with a friend that she had from many years ago, and this friend is now a publisher. So she's helping her publish her book, and she's going to be working with mine. So I just sent the notebooks over. I'm excited. I haven't let these notebooks on my site in quite a few years. So I told her, treasure with your life, else I will hack you down and get you down IP address. But yes, I'm excited about that. I don't know the timelines and stuff on that yet. I'm not an author. I don't know how that works, but I'm excited about getting it started. And it's schools definitely still going in with the school. We're excited about that as well. So those are some of the things I got. But check out that vulnerability toolkit. We're really going to go into that course on the first, and we're going to drop those 4 modules, and we're going to give them to you, and we're going to give you the steps to working that through, the breakthrough, breaking bad habits, and those kind of things that you've been accustomed to, and that you've shielded yourself from really growing. And you'll be, when you pull up in that curtain, and we're going to transform some people. And I got quite a few people signed up for that already. So I'm waiting with my buddy here, my website buddy here. We're going to get this landing page out so we can officially start getting some people
Now you see what I'm dealing with.
Well, now you have the accountability, because now it's live, it's up there. So the accountability is there for sure.
He drops projects on live. We have no conversations. He's like,
so I kind of put Charlene. I kind of work with that. I work like when we started this, right. Our plan was to work on that introvertness and get her talking about herself. See, you see the progress. Like Charlene has actually been in my boot camp without even being in my boot camp or knowing it, because she has started from someone who just did not. So now I put her on. We got a show. She co-hosts. Not only that, she's rebranded. She's redone her podcast. She started out her specialty, her signature offers that she have, and now we doing. I see, so she's went through my boot camp without even knowing it. But that's, this is what we do. We help each other out. We help each other grow, and that's what it's all been part of. And Jenny, it has been a great thing to have you on
Thank you for
today.
having me.
Yeah, even though
Yes,
we had all these
thank
technical
you.
difficulties, I still look like the Matrix on LinkedIn. I'm seeing it, so it is what it is. You guys heard what I
In and
said.
out,
You
in
guys
and out.
heard the show.
But yeah, so as I continue to help Carl get his content together, get his life together online, I am also
Mm.
promoting and supporting anyone who is ready. They are at that brink where their website needs to be redone. They did the DIY, they are over it. They now need to scale their site
Mhm.
up. I'm doing content strategies where we're going to focus in. It's a mini VIP day. So it's a 90-minute session with me. We're going to fine tune what kind of content you need on your website. Everybody's figuring out what they need on social media and leaving their website naked. So we're going to help you
Oops,
focus on it
guilty.
Yes, that is some way to put it. I'm telling you, that
naked.
is some way to
So,
put it.
so you're sending people to your website for one thing and then they gone. And then you're wondering why Google doesn't even look at you. Google doesn't look at you because you're not making your website a priority. You're not making it valuable. And I'm going to help you do that. So if you need
Awesome.
that, I know a lot of you need that. It's 2022 is coming up. There's no excuses for a weak website. So head on over to strugglesite.com and book your session. Many VIP days will not last for long. Things are going to switch up in 2022. So I would highly advise you do this no-brainer today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the show is moving forward too. We're going to drop the website will go live on November 1st. So you're going to be able to go on there and book it. And we also have
Yes.
applications. We are booked into 2022. That is fabulous. Every Tuesday and Thursday we got guests that's coming on, just sharing their expertise, telling you how to level up in business and in life, and just giving us the real talk. And this is really what it's about, the real talk. We're trying to inspire people by the work we're doing, and we're trying to just pass it along. And we're building communities as we go because we need each other, regardless of whatever you're doing and they're doing, or whether it's over the pond or back this way or in the U.S. I mean, we need each other in all aspects of it. So we need to help each other and provide that information for people so they can just level up their lives. That's all. That's what
Yes.
we do.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. Like
Thank you.
like my co-host said, we are going to launch November 1st. I'm gonna put it out there in public.
Yeah. We doing accountability drills today. You know what I mean? We putting it out there,
Lord.
making sure that the millions of people that are watching, even if you see it in the hashtag replay, we're for real about this, and we started this, and we didn't start it just to have a couple shows and just be on. We really started it to make an impact and to change the trajectory of people who hadn't was the knowledge maybe wasn't available to you. You didn't know how to apply it. So we're having people on like Jenny that's telling you how to apply the things that you're seeing, and not
Right.
just scrolling and looking at all, but actually getting things out of it that's going to propel your business, and definitely more so than anything, your life and your development. That's really key to you
Yeah.
succeeding in any other thing that you try. So those are
Yes,
what we're
and we're
doing.
trying to change the game on guest experience. So there's a
Yes,
couple of things that we have planned
yes.
in the background. And of course our panels, 2022, we
Oh
got those
yeah.
panels coming
Got
up.
the panels. You're
So that's going to
busy.
get planned out too. We have a planned
Yes.
session already on
Yeah.
books. So that's going to
Yes.
be something exciting. Cannot wait. Thank you, everybody. It's 11:02. It's time to roll.
Deuces.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Jenny. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for
Bye.
coming out, guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you.